Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Duke, and welcome again to another episode of Right Makes Might. Today, we're going to take a step back and look at a video that went viral about a week ago, a video from the Family Policy Institute of Washington and Joseph Backholm, who hosted it. The video is shot at the University of Washington campus in Washington State, and Mr. Backholm asks a group of kids to answer a few questions.
Are you aware of the debate happening in Washington State around the ability to access bathrooms, locker rooms, spas based on gender identity and gender expression?
I think people should be able to have access to the facility.
If I told you that I was Chinese, what would your response be?
I mean, I might be a little surprised, but I would say, good for you. Like, yeah, be who you are.
If you thoroughly debated me or explained why you felt that you were 6'5", I feel like I would be very open to saying that you were 6'5", or Chinese, or a woman.
So you'd be willing to tell me I'm wrong?
I wouldn't tell you you're wrong.
I feel like that's not my place as like another human to say someone is wrong or to draw lines or boundaries.
And the staggering thing about the video is how utterly unwilling these kids are, dozens of kids are, to in any way, shape, or form ever tell Mr. Backholm that he would be wrong. And this is a huge issue on our college campuses. I see it at my universities all the time. We have drilled into our kids the notion that the only thing that's ever wrong is to tell somebody no. Drawing boundaries, making absolute statements, telling people, even deluded people, even dangerously deluded people, that they are wrong. Our students will not do it. In fact, you think about the last 2,000 years of Western culture. The last 2,000 years of Western culture has been based on building up positive values, making cases for things like humility or chastity, generosity, separating virtue from vice. Why is it better to be humble than it is to be arrogant? Why is it better to be generous than it is to be selfish? And all of that now, from Augustine to Aquinas, all the way through the 20th century, has been eradicated in the name of this false moral equivalency. Right? You can be what you want to be. You can say what you want to say. You can think you are who you are as long as it doesn't hurt anybody else. Who am I to say? And yet this is where we run into problems philosophically, logically. So one of the things Mr. Backholm said, white male, what would you say if I told you I was Chinese? At which point, the students were taken aback, right? And they said things like, well, I might ask you how you came to that conclusion. Oh, okay, if that's how you feel. And you see where the progressive house of cards falls, comes tumbling down. To be white and to claim to be Chinese is a cultural appropriation, we've been told by the progressives. To be white and to pretend to be black, to be white and to wear cornrows in your hair, that ship has sailed for me, obviously. To be white and to do yoga, we learned from Canada, is an appropriation of Asian cultures, right? This idea, to dress as to put a sombrero on your white head on Cinco de Mayo is a cultural appropriation. So when I appropriate Mexicanness or blackness, or I appropriate Chineseness, when I appropriate being a woman when I'm a man, this freaks them out. Unless I can say, but it's how I feel. Unless I can say, but I really feel. We have people now getting plastic surgery to turn themselves into cats and dragons. And if you feel like a cat and a dragon, well, then we have to respect that. Although, are we appropriating dragon culture? Aren't we, in the words of famous animal rights activist Peter Singer, or his philosophy, are we being speciesist by culturally appropriating what belongs to the animals to the humans? And so you see the complete and utter illogic of all of this. What do we need to do about this? We need to stand up for reality. The world is not a subjective place, it's an objective place. By all means, if you think trees are merely a subjective projection of of a social construct, get in your car and drive into one. Let's see how objective that is. This notion that there is that everything is up to subjective debate, nonsense. It troubles me that we keep hearing how the progressives are the party of science. We keep hearing how progressives, radicals, liberals, they're the party of science. They're the people who believe in scientific fact. They're the people who argue that global warming is so scientifically proven that there can be no debate or discussion about it, although it seems to defeat the purpose of scientific inquiry. Nevertheless, these same progressives are the ones who tell you biological sex don't matter, does not matter, that you are what you say you are, that as long as your delusions, your anti-scientific, anti-rational, anti-realistic, anti-empirically verifiable opinions, as long as they don't quote-unquote hurt anybody, they're okay. You can't be both pro-science and pro-reality and be for this. You can't be. And you see the kinds of weird circumlocutions they get into. Why is it not cultural appropriation? If I say I'm 6'5", black, female, and lesbian, why is that something we have to embrace? Why do these white suburban college kids have to fall down and act like I have every right to be that, when black activists will tell you I've ripped them off, when lesbian activists will tell you I've stolen from their culture? The whole thing is a complete waste of time. And colleges and universities that have spent their time teaching our kids this kind of addle-brained acceptance, this faux tolerance, they have done a huge disservice to these kids. They ought to refund every bit of that tuition money. William F. Buckley once said, "The purpose of an open mind is to close it on certain subjects. If you do not, you simply have abnegated the responsibility to think." And sadly, there's not much thinking taking place on these campuses.
This is Right Makes Might with Dr. Duke.